The consonant sounds. Let's start with the first plosive P. To produce the P sound, bring the lips together, stopping the breath stream. Raise the soft palate. Gently blow the lips apart as you release a voiceless breath. There are requirements for making this sound. First, the lips, prompted by some aspiration or the puff of air, will be separating whether or not the letter P is initial or final in a word. Second, there is more voice to the sound and more pressure to the lip closure when the P or B occurs initially than when it is final in position in a word. Again, everybody say P. Study and practice the substitutions and the drill that follows. Private firm. Playing field. Potato fries. Different pairs. Former president. Face the people. Food preparation. Familiar poem. Fascinating partner. The plosive B. To produce the B sound, bring the lips together, stopping the breath stream. The soft palate is raised. Gently blow the lips apart as you vibrate the vocal cords. The obstruction is complete while the release is sudden. The requirements for the production of the B sound are also the requirements for the production of the P, except that the breath released between the lips in a slight explosion is a voiced sound. An error sometimes associated with the production of the B sound is the substitution for it of the M sound. This error is illustrated by such pronunciation as man for ban, mat for bat, morn for born, etc. This fault, which is rather among Chinese, but sometimes also occurring in the speech of some Filipino students, is due to a failure to raise the soft palate so that the slight explosion that should be directed to the oral cavity is expelled towards the nostrils, thus becoming nasalized and assuming the tone production required for the M sound. To avoid this error, the student should raise the soft palate and have the breath stream deliberately directed to the lips so that the lips are gently blown down apart. The fricative F. To produce the F sound, place the lower lip against the edge of the upper front teeth, narrowing the passage of the breath stream. Raise the soft palate. Release the breath between the lip and the teeth with friction, making a voiceless continuant. The obstruction is incomplete or partial. The release is gradual. The sound may be represented by the letter F as in deaf, the FF as in staff, the GH as in rough, or the PH as in philosophy. The fricative V. The V is produced by placing the lower lip against the edge of the upper front teeth, as in F, but the breath expelled is voiced. So there should be vibration of the vocal cords. This sound is represented by the letter V as in voice, the letter F as in of, or whereof, thereof, PH as in the name Stephen. The letter F and the letters PH symbols rarely represent the V sound. Let's get to the drill. Repeat after me. Business venture. Vote buying. Very big. Bank vault. Biased view. Business vocabulary. Vertical bar. Voice box. Book value. The plosive T. To make the plosive T, bring the tip of the tongue lightly against the upper front teeth ridge, stopping the breath stream. Raise the soft palate. Expel a voiceless sound as you quickly lower the tongue tip. Take note that you do not use the whole front of the tongue or put the tongue on the teeth, as this will only blur the sound. For best results, use just the tip of the tongue. The contact of the tongue with the gum ridge, when broken, should be quick and complete. The obstruction is complete while the release of the air is sudden. That makes it plosive, or a stop. This T plosive is a short, voiceless sound. Make the sound and cleanly without having it followed by a stream of breath. Make sure that the tongue tip is in firm contact with the gum ridge, not the lower edge of the upper teeth. That is represented by the letter T or TT, as in the words better, and by the ed ending of regular verbs in the past tense. Of course, the ed ending is pronounced T only when the sound immediately preceding it is a voiceless sound, as in missed, pronounced, or talked. If the sound immediately before it is voiced, then this ed ending is pronounced D, as in received, cared, or etc. This ed ending, incidentally, is pronounced ud when it comes after the letters T or the letter D, as in collected, counted, ended, demanded, etc. In word spelling, the alphabet letter T is silent when preceded by a letter S in the terminations TEN and TLE, as in moisten, listen, christen, bristle, or whistle. It is silent also in often and soften. The plosive d. To make the plosive d sound, bring the tip of the tongue lightly against the upper front teeth bridge, stopping the breath stream. Raise the soft palate. Expel a voiced sound as you quickly lower the tongue tip. Though there is complete obstruction, there is a sudden release of the air. As in the production of t, do not use the whole front of the tongue or put the tongue on the teeth, as this will only blur the sound. For best results, use just the tip of the tongue. The contact of the tongue with the gum ridge, when broken, should be quick and complete. The voiceless fricative th, as in thin. To produce the th sound, press the tip of the tongue against the upper front teeth, narrowing the passage of the breath stream. Raise the soft palate. Release the breath between the tongue and the teeth with friction, making a voiceless continuant. The obstruction is incomplete and the release is gradual. In the articulation of this sound, the blade of the tongue is latter, the pressure of the contact is more tense, and more of the tongue shows between the teeth than for the th. Let's practice the following words with a th. Follow me. Anything. 3. 30. Thermometer. Thieves. Theft. Theater. Thick. Thought. Thrift. Healthy. Panther. Author. Bertha. Arthur. Marathon. Method. Breathless. Sympathetic. Worthless. Wealthy. Nothing. 1/3. Mirthless. Commonwealth. Tooth. Length. 20th. Death. Broth. Let's have the drill. Repeat after me. Say the 10th 10. Tie its thigh. Both left to boat. Theme song of the team. The 4th fort. Thin coat of tin. Thought you taught. Under the sheet, a good sheath. Even in death, more depths. Distinguishing between t and th. Everybody say bat, bath, debt, death, dirt, dearth, fate, faith, fort, fourth, ticket, thicket, tin, thin, tinker, thinker, trawl, thrall, true, through, tank, thank, taught, thought, team, theme, tick, thick, tooth, tooth, oath, oath, pat, path, wealth, wealth, rot, wrath, got, goth, heart, hearth, heat, heath, mit, myth, rat, wrath, tries, thrice, true, through, tug, thug, to, thu, quote, quoth. The voiced fricative th, as in then. This sound is produced by placing the tip of the tongue just far enough forward to block a slight opening between the teeth and then forcing a vocalized breath through the obstructed passage. The outstanding difference between the th and the th lies in the vocalization of the th. The pressure of the contact is less tense, and less of the tongue shows between the teeth than for th. To avoid substituting d sound for this sound, the tongue tip must be extended between the teeth. The obstruction is incomplete, and the release of the air is gradual. Let's practice the following words. Follow me and say, smooth, with, weathered, otherwise, mother, lathe, northern, although, either, hitherto, rhythm, writhe, then, themselves, thus, those, scythe, thereby, the, this, there, that, tithe, southern, within, feather, clothes, bother, breathe. Let's have the drill. Everybody say, hiding together. Although the standard, another body, murdered my father. Further reduction, faded clothing, finding out whether, tried to breathe, soothes the troubled, smoothens the wrinkled. The plosive k sound. To produce this sound, raise the back of the tongue towards the soft palate. Quickly lower it as you make a voiceless sound. The obstruction is complete and the release is sudden. Make this sound very lightly, easily, and quickly, because the k sound and the g sounds originate in the same place. They are called cognates. This sound, when immediately before a vowel, is aspirated but lightly, without excessive explosion or unpleasant friction. When finally in a word, the k sound is hard and definite, as in music, allergic, etc. The k sound is represented alphabetically by the letters K as in kick, C in care, or CH in cholera or machination. The plosive G. This sound is produced in exactly the same way as the K sound, except that here the breath expelled is voiced, not voiceless. The obstruction is complete and the release of the air is sudden. This sound is made by the tongue, which stops the breath stream by pressing the tongue against the roof of the mouth, then releasing the breath while vibrating the vocal cords. For a crisp, clear-cut k, make the release quickly. While the k sound makes good use of aspiration, the g sound does not make of it in its production. This is especially true when the g occurs finally in the word. The continuant woo. To produce the woo sound, round the lips lightly. Raise the back of the tongue high in the mouth as for oo. Expel the breath through the small opening between the lips, producing a voiced sound. The obstruction is incomplete, while the release is gradual. Take note that the narrowing of the mouth opening is not to stop the breath stream, but merely to impede it, so that as the breath is expelled, an audible friction results. W, when used as in weak, is a consonant. When used as in how, it is a vowel. The sound w. This sound is produced in exactly the same way as the woo sound. The difference is that the HW is a voiceless consonant. It is represented in the alphabet by the WH letters only. The abstraction is incomplete, while the release is gradual. The H sound is a combination of the W and the H sound. It is important to note, however, that the two letter elements are produced in the reverse order, that is HW. The lips are thrust forward in the rounded form required to make the W sound, but the forced breath of the element precedes the vocalization of the W sound. Thus, words involving the WH spelling such as what, when, where, white, anywhere, etc. are pronounced as if spelled HWAT, HWEN, etc. The words who, spelled as WHO, whole, spelled WHOLE, whose, spelled WHOSE, and whom, spelled WHOM, and their compounds are exceptional, for in these words the W is silent in their pronunciation. Let's practice the following words. Repeat after me and say, while, whisper, whenever, whether, why, whimsical, whistle, wheat, white, whereas, what, which, whine, whimper, anywhere, nowhere, wheel, whip, whale, whinnied, wheeze, whirl, somewhat, whence, whig. Let us distinguish between the W and the W sounds. Repeat after me. Why, why, wheel, wheel, wig, wig, world, world, while, whale, 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 when, white, white, wish, which, which, wine, wine, where, whack, whack, way, what, Let's go to the nasal sounds. In the production of the nasal sounds, the lips are closed as for the plosives, but the mouth passage is not completely blocked as the soft palate is lowered so that the breath stream passes out through the nose. These consonants are called nasals because the breath stream is made to escape through the nose. They are called continuants because the breath is expelled in a continuous stream. The sound mm. To produce the sound, press the lips together, stopping the breath stream. The soft palate is lowered. Make a long-voiced sound, sending the sound out through the nose. The obstruction is incomplete. The release is gradual. Do not allow this sound to slide back into the throat. If you do, you will get an empty moaning sound. If you have any difficulty producing this sound clearly, practice bringing the tone forward by holding the bridge of your nose to feel the resonance as the sound passes through. The more resonance the tone has, the more carrying power. To produce clear and clean resonance, the nasal tract must be free from organic impediments such as sinus trouble, adenoids, severe colds, whatever. Like the lateral consonant L, this nasal sound too can stand by itself as a separate final syllable. That is, if it occurs in an unstressed final syllable and coming immediately after fricative consonants or plosive sounds as prism, criticism, etc., in this case, the m is considered a syllabic consonant. The nasal n. To produce this sound, bring the tip of the tongue against the upper gum ridge, stopping the breath stream. Lower the soft palate. Make a voiced sound, releasing the breath stream through the nose. The obstruction is incomplete. The release is gradual. The tip of the tongue should be spread on the upper gum ridge. Instead of releasing the tip of the tongue quickly as in d or t, hold the tongue tip there, then expel the continuant sound through the nose. When occurring too in a final unstressed syllable, the n is a syllabic consonant, as garden. The other requirements for m are also applicable here. The nasal ng, or the equivalent of the ng spelling. To produce the ng sound, raise the tongue to the rear roof of the mouth and keep the tongue in that position. Lower the soft palate. Make a voiced sound through the nose. Make this sound with the tongue down at the tip and raised toward the soft palate at the back. Be sure to produce a single sound, not two. Although this is represented by two letters of the alphabet, it is a single sound. The consonant is never accompanied by aspiration in English. There is a marked tendency among many Filipino students to add a K sound to all words following the N, G, or the ng, so that in addition to a complete modification of the final sound, words like strength and length become strength and length. To avoid this error, the student is advised to make certain that the back of his tongue is moved away from his soft palate before the soft palate is raised to block off the nasal passage. Furthermore, it is not enough for the student to know how to form the ng sound. He must also ascertain whether in the same syllable this sound is followed by the plosive k or g, or by some other sounds. Because there is no definite rule to cover this process, the surest way for the student to do is to learn each word with an NG sound individually, using, of course, a good dictionary for a guide. Another error usually associated with the ng sound is an out and out substitution for it of the n sound, so that the words strength and length are pronounced strength and length. Many times, the major cause of this error is downright carelessness on the part of the student. To ensure a clean resonance of this sound, the student must make sure that the ng is given sufficient duration whenever it is formed. The voiceless. This is a breathy sound emanating from the glottis or the voice box opening, which is expanded a little as a voiceless breath, free from friction. It is expelled. The obstruction is incomplete. The release is gradual. This sound is merely breath, modified by the shape of the mouth for the utterance of the following vowel sound. The soft palate is raised so that the nasal passage is blocked. The breath is expelled through the mouth, shaped for the following vowel in a continuous stream with audible friction. There is no voiced counterpart of this sound. This sound is represented alphabetically by the letter H, as in hat. It plays a major role in the combination. Because this sound is more breath than anything else, so that it is not as audible as some other sounds. It does not mean that the student can afford to be careless about its proper production. Not all the time is the letter H in words sounded. Sometimes it is soundless in the initial position, like the words honest, honor, air, and in the unaccented medial position like vehicle or shepherd. The lateral L. To produce the L sound, raise the tip of the tongue against the upper front teeth, raising to the back of the tongue toward the soft palate. Raise the soft palate. Release the breath stream over the sides of the tongue, making a voiced lateral continuant. There is incomplete obstruction and a gradual release of the air. The tip of the tongue should be spread on the upper gum ridge because the sound goes over the sides of the tongue. This voiced sound is called a lateral sound. Now say L, as in love. The semi-vowel R. To produce the R sound, curl the tip of the tongue back toward the roof of the mouth or the hard palate. Raise the soft palate. Release the breath over the tongue and have the voiced air centered in the mouth without removing the tongue from that position. Do not round the lips for this sound. Be careful that the tip of the tongue is turned back but doesn't quite touch the teeth ridge. If you allow actual contact, the sound produced will resemble the L sound. Follow me and say R, as in roar, rain, murder. The semi-vowel Y. To produce the Y sound, place the tip of the tongue behind the front teeth. Press the sides of the tongue against the upper side teeth with mid part of the tongue raised to the hard palate, from which position of the tongue moves for the formation of the following vowel. Raise the soft palate. Gradually force out a vibrating breath stream between the tongue and the hard palate during the movement of the tongue to the vowel position. There is incomplete obstruction and a gradual release of the air. Take note that when the letter Y occurs at the beginning of a word, there is generally no difficulty for the speaker to notice and articulate it. The difficulty arises when this Y does not occur in the spelling of the words, just like the words beauty or tube, spelled as T-U-B-E. Let's talk about the sibilants, or they are called the hissing or the buzzing sounds. There are 6 of them. They are the sounds S, Z, Sh, representing the SH spelling, the J, representing the ZH spelling, the T, generally representing the CH spelling, and the J, representing the J spelling. Now, the sibilant S. To produce the S sound, raise the tongue high in the mouth, grooving the sides of it to have the passage of the breath stream narrowed. Raise the soft palate. Send the breath out in a steady stream over the center to the tip of the tongue, producing friction and making it a voiceless continuant. The obstruction is incomplete. The release is gradual. Take note that the upper and lower teeth are nearly closed when this sound is produced, but the tip of the tongue does not touch either the upper teeth or the gum ridge. The position of the tongue is such that a narrow passage is left open between the center of the tongue and the gum ridge, and the point of the tongue is held firmly between the gum ridge, and the point of the tongue is held firmly between the gum ridge and the upper front teeth, not, however, contacting the roof of the mouth or the gums. In the articulation of this sound, the contact between the center of the tongue and the gum ridge is smaller than for Z. This sound must not be prolonged. The principle of assimilation must be followed when the s sound occurs immediately after a voiced sound, so that actually the letter S in word spelling is pronounced as Z or Z. Examples: design, easy, birds, dogs, pleasure, treasure. In the case of both nouns and verbs in which the ES is immediately preceded by a hissing or a buzzing sound, the ES is always pronounced as is and is pronounced as a separate syllable. For example, kisses, ashes, bridges. The most common representation of this sound is the alphabet letter S. Other representations include the letter C as in city, the CE as in fence, the PS spelling as in psychology, the SC spelling as in science, the SS as in class, and the letter X as in hoax, spelled as HOAX. The letter S that retains the S sound. Repeat after me and say this: axis, basis, Francis, crisis, oasis, ISIS, trellis, loose, loosen, goose, news, garrison, comparison, unison, Harrison, Madison, Mason, bus, us, thus, genus, genius, chorus, Zeus, esophagus, minus, terminus, status, apparatus, pus, grandiose, close, adjective, closely, purpose, comatose, morose, verbose, house, noun, mouse, louse, blouse, douse, grouse, use, noun, abuse, noun, abstruse, diffuse, adjective, profuse, excuse, noun, recluse, obtuse, curiosity, religiosity, generosity, heresy, fantasy, increase, cease, grease, lease, release, grease, decrease, geese, disease, base, purchase, case, chase, debase, evasive, persuasive, conclusive, abusive, pervasive, precise, treatise, concise, practice, promise, paradise, else, repulse, pulse, cleanse, rinse, tense, horse, sense, curse, worse, nurse. The letter X with the value of KS. Execute, exercise, execution, exogen, exit, executor, exile, duplex, exorable, exorcise, oxymoron, proxy, oxygen, foxy, exodus, complexity, exorcism, waxing, laxative, exigency, luxate, taxi, exoderm, taxation, relaxing, expansion, extort, exclaim, exculpate, explain, excogitate, exchange, exclude, exhale, exterminate. The sibilant Z. The Z sound is produced by curling the edges of the tongue blade towards the hard palate as for the S sound. The breath for the Z, however, is voiced. In the articulation of Z, the pressure of the contact between the sides of the tongue and the roof of the mouth is less tense, and the passage between the center of the tongue and the gum ridge is larger than for S. Avoid unvoicing this sound, especially when it is in the final position. In word spelling, this sound is represented by the letter Z as in zigzag, ZZ as in blizzard, S as in was, SS as in dissolve, SE as in cause, and X as in xylophone. The sibilant sh. To produce the sh sound, raise the tip of the tongue high in the mouth towards the hard palate and just a bit farther back than for S or Z. Raise the soft palate. Protrude the lips lightly and rounding them a little. Spread the breath out across the upper teeth, producing friction and making a voiceless continuant. The teeth are nearly closed, and the sides of the tongue are against the upper side teeth when the sound is produced. The sh sound is represented by many spellings, like SH as in she, TI as in nation, SI as in pension, CI as in gracious, CH as in machine, and S as in sugar. Let's practice some words. Follow me as I say. Ship, sure, shield, she, shock, abolish, selfish, extinguish, fashion, fresh, rushing, hardships, flower-shaped, punishment, flourish, issue, insure, session, censure, ancient, corruption, devotion, provincial, sufficient. The sibilant zh. The zh sound is produced, as in the sh sound, by bringing the teeth together, thrusting the blade with the tongue, not the tip, close to the hard palate, and forcing the breath through the very shallow channel between the blade and the hard palate. The zh differ from the sh sound in that the breath is voiced for the production of the zh. This sound is represented in word spelling by the letter Z as in azure, S as in measure, SE as in decision, G as in regime, and GE as in mirage. The sound does not occur initially in any English word. Let's practice the following. Repeat after me. Leisure, provision, occasion, abrasion, measure, vision, visual, camouflage, conclusion, beige, corsage, conversion, regime, treasure, usury, prestige, massage. The sibilant ch, as in church. To produce this sound, combine the t and the sh, placing the tongue against the upper teeth and ridge and the hard palate with the lips slightly rounded and protruded. Raise the soft palate. Release the breath with explosion and friction, making a voiceless sound. The ch sound may be found in the CH spelling as in merchandise and in the TU spelling as in nature, or actual? Let's practice producing the ch sound. Follow me as I say, cherish, Chesterfield, chicken, chance, check, chase, chant, church, chamber, chain, achieve, inches, matches, merchants, teacher, which, porch, clutch, coach, detach, speech, branch, Dutch, French, each. The sibilant j, as in judge. To produce the d sound, combine the d and the j, placing the tongue against the upper teeth ridge and hard palate, with the lips rounded lightly and protruded. Raise the soft palate. Release the breath with explosion and friction, making a voiced sound. The most frequent spellings for this sound are the letter J as in jump, G as in George, and DG as in judge. Let's practice some words. Everybody say gem, general, generator, genuine, generous, janitor, justice, jerk, judicious, jury, George, Joseph, Japan, Jakarta, allege, college, engage, forge, energy, edge, surgeon, sacrilege, prejudice, original.